It's summertime in Europe and festival season's going off. For many, that means taking drugs.
Teenagers running around thinking they can just take what they want. They think they're invincible, don't they?
It does worry me that someone could die this weekend.
I've been reporting on music festival drug deaths for over 5 years. A recent spate of deaths in Australia has turbocharged the debate about pill testing. Does it save lives or give a green light to drug use?
What made you want to do this?
I just want to be safe when I take my drugs, because you never know what's inside.
In this program, we'll go deep into the European and UK festival scene to see drug testing in action. And to find out what else organisers are doing to stop people dying.
Big it up, Boomtown massive.
So the gates are open, tens of thousands of people are flooding in, and for the next 5 days,
Are we on a broadcast?
Oh yeah, we're live.
Oh, yeah.
Where are we?
What are we doing?
We're at Boomtown Fair.
Of course we are.
Oh,
I didn't line up for fucking 3 hours for no reason.
For the next 5 days, this is Boomtown Fair.
Boomtown Fair, bro. No, that's what it is. You know what it is.
Keep on walking that way. Whoever it is, they will meet you if they want to. And if they don't, you're in the festival already. Big it up, Boomtown massive.
In just 11 years, Boomtown's become one of the biggest festivals in the UK. The place is enormous. It's like a temporary city, with 9 themed districts, more than 80 stages and venues, and 66,000 people.
Yeah, we're looking into what our line is on that at the moment, so checking in with security and that lot.
Thousands of staff and volunteers pull it all together, including Anna Wade, who's been with Boomtown since its beginnings.
The festival culture in the UK, over the last 5 or 10 years, it's really grown to being actually what everybody does now. It's not like, are you going to festival? It's which festivals are you going to?
Down. Hold on, look.
Rose and Marcus are festival regulars. This is their second year at Boomtown.
You immediately get here and it's just, you just don't hold back. There's no holding back at this festival.
Don't feel me struggle.
Come on, you can do it, guys. Get it up there. I have faith in you all. I love you.
Fucking Boomtown, yes, brother.
Put up some tent pegs. Make yourself useful.
They've got their tent, their wet weather gear for the classic English summer, and their drugs.
So are drugs an important part of the mix for you guys?
They're not key. We come for the music. They enhance.
Yeah, it's
They
an
enhance
enhancement.
our time here. It makes everything feel better. I mean, there are people that go too far and they do too much and they have a bad time. But that's not us. We don't do that. We're sensible.
Boomtown, hats off heads, hands on hearts, praise ye Father Goose like sugar and puff. May these beers go down smoothly, efficiently, with minimal spillage. Absolutely no opportunities. Thanks to us come.
Surveys show that about half of people at music festivals in the UK are using illicit drugs. Marcus and Rose managed to smuggle their stash in by hiding it internally.
Well, what you do, you see, you just neaten it all up like this, and you just neaten it up like that, and roll it all together, and boom, it looks like a dick. And a very small one at that. I mean, no offence, anyone. Sorry.
Wow.
When can we do some MDMA?
They've brought MDMA, the active ingredient in ecstasy, ketamine, an anaesthetic used recreationally, and cannabis.
And our weed.
And how much ketamine is that?
That's about 4 grams. So we've got 2 each, basically.
So you know that a young woman died from taking ketamine at this festival? That doesn't worry you?
It sounds quite bad, but...
We would never do a drug that we've never done before at a festival. We would always do it in a comfortable environment, at home or at a party or with friends, to test to see how we get on with it. And that's what we would do.
Somebody say oh yeah! Somebody say yeah yeah! Gentlemen,
Underneath the colour of Boomtown is a tragic history. In the 6 years to 2016, 4 people died from drug-related causes.
She was a very vibrant, happy soul. She was highly intelligent. She was a bit lazy, she had a bit of an attitude, but oh my God, she was charming.
Ellie Rowe's mother Wendy and her sister Iona come back to Boomtown every year to remember her.
And everything, I'm sorry, I could never tell this with a straight face, but that's why I'm here, to just express how painful it is to be told that your child has died.
Ellie was just 18 when she died at Boomtown in 2013. She'd had 2 beers and a line of ketamine.
It was in the mid-range of what they would give a child in hospital. It was, one big line, and in her system, it should have been fine. But with the alcohol, he said it was as if she had forgotten to breathe. It wasn't an overdose. It wasn't a cry for help. It was just curiosity, and a healthy amount of curiosity that's within every child.
Ellie Rowe in 2013 was a moment, a big moment, especially for myself, when it all became very apparent that more needs to be done.
Boomtown recruited retired police officer Paul Bunt to overhaul its approach to drugs and crime. Before that, he'd spent decades policing drugs.
We have a duty under the Misuse of Drugs Act to make sure that drugs don't enter the site.
Young man, what have you got on you?
Me?
Same thing?
Yeah, same thing.
Weed. Whereabouts is it? In the bag? In that bag, lovely. Fill it for me then. Thank you.
Some may have the view that if we seize as many drugs as we can, that reduces the amount on site. That's true, but what that means is they go onto site and they look for a dealer.
Teamwork. That would have been funny.
It is ridiculous to think that we can stop all drugs coming into the festival. A big thing in the UK over the last 2 or 3 years is the amount of drugs getting into a prison. Well, if it can get into a prison, it's going to get into a festival.
stardust rushing through my bloodstream. I wanna get higher. Stardust rushing through my bloodstream. I wanna go faster. Stardust rushing through my bloodstream. I wanna get higher. Stardust rushing through my bloodstream. I found myself lost in space.
To keep people safe, Boomtown assembles its team to talk strategy.
We plan to update you at least once a day, hopefully twice a day, on what we're finding.
The heads of security, medical, communications, crime and drugs are all discussing how their different services will work together over the next 5 days.
At Hilltop there is a 14-bedded field hospital.
A key pillar of Boomtown's harm reduction strategy is its full on-site emergency department. Craig Harris has been leading the medical team at Boomtown for over 10 years.
So how many people can you have on life support at one time in here?
We've got 3 resuscitation bays, so effectively we could deal with 3 really, really unwell patients all at the same time. Having that high level of emergency care consultants, intensive care consultants actually on site means that we can stabilise them before we transfer them to appropriate receiving hospitals.
There are festivals in Australia that don't have any of that level of care. Does that surprise you?
It surprises me a lot. We're very, very keen in the UK to certainly bring the level of clinical care to festivals up, and we're striving to make this better.
Medical facilities are just one element. In 2017, Boomtown introduced back-of-house drug testing to provide intel on what drugs are in circulation. They test drugs confiscated at the gates and found in amnesty bins. The testing happens well away from festival-goers, inside the police compound.
And here we are in the back-of-house facility, run by an organisation called Tic Tac. Let's go see what they do.
Thank you, Pete.
Trevor Shine is the director of Tic Tac, a private drug analysis and identification business.
Trevor, we've got another sample here. What is it?
It looks as if it's crystal MDMA, and we're going to run it on an infrared spectrometer. It could probably just as easily be N-ethylpentalone because the two look similar.
Substances like N-ethylpentalone and PMMA aren't seen often, but when they are, they're usually passed off as MDMA. PMMA is more toxic, and N-ethylpentalone much longer lasting.
You have someone who's expecting crystal MDMA, which should be a 4 or 5 hour kind of mellow stimulant high, great for the dancing and things. And what they get instead is a very edgy amphetamine-like high that can last 12 to 14 hours. And that's the problem because they're not expecting it.
Okay, so we've got the results. Trevor, you were right. MDMA.
I was, this time.
If Trevor and his team find a harmful substance, they tell the festival, which then sends an alert to the on-site teams. They also warn the public via signage and social media.
So do you think that helps? Do you think that could save a life?
It's hard to say if it could save a life, to be honest with you. It could save someone, possibly save their life. If an ecstasy tablet was picked up and there was PMMA in it, which is pretty lethal, you might be able to say we've saved someone's life.
The most popular part of Boomtown's drug strategy has been its front-of-house drug testing, which is designed to work in combination with the back-of-house team. The idea is that festival goers themselves bring their drugs to be tested here, in the middle of the festival, where police agree not to arrest them.
It just really helped us open up and have actually like peer-to-peer conversations with people rather than the authoritative, don't do drugs, don't bring them in this festival, which wasn't working. It obviously wasn't working.
But it's controversial, and seeing how official this setup looks, you can understand why some people are concerned that it's endorsing or even encouraging drug use.
I'm mildly against it because I think that it does normalize drug use. That doesn't mean that I don't see the advantages of doing it or that there are benefits of doing it. That's just my personal view. And I can't see how it doesn't, because it's just, it has to a degree, in my opinion.
You may think it's promoting or endorsing drug use, but when you actually fully recognise and see what this service is, everybody will see it as the public health service and offering that it actually is.
This front-of-house testing is run by a not-for-profit called The Loop, the only organisation to offer it in the UK. But at the last minute, Boomtown announces that the service won't be testing this year.
They can't test our drugs, so our safety net is gone. And
yeah,
that's scary.
Realistically, I was going to come down here with all of my mates' shit, and I was going to go in there and I was going to test it for them just to make sure that no one's going to, die.
I heard in the news that someone died at a festival in Ireland last week, and I think it's terrible, and it does worry me that someone could die this weekend because people don't know what they're taking. They don't have an education about it.
I'm scared because last year there was no deaths, and I saw we stood outside the Loop for ages, just observing young people that had their drugs tested, the conversations that followed, and it was really exciting. It gave me so much hope. I left last year's Boomtown with a heart full of hope, which I had never imagined would happen. And then to hear the news that it wasn't on this year, my instant reaction was fear, because I just can't.
Every death, it's like Eleanor dies all over again. Every time we read of some young person dying through drugs.
Up until now, the Loop's been operating in a legal grey area. Director Fiona Measham says the Loop applied for a government licence this year, but it hasn't been approved yet.
We've been working for the past 6 years to get to a point where we can have drug safety testing across the UK. But it has been a massive struggle behind the scenes every single time, because you think about all the different stakeholders that we have to engage with. We have to have public health, local authorities, police, and also the festival themselves. So it's a really, really complex situation.
As a compromise, the Loop's offering drug counselling, normally the last step in their testing service. Are you guys disappointed that the Loop won't be drug testing this year?
It's devastating because it's all of our age group love it. We love the Loop, and we love the fact that you can get your drugs tested scientifically and get aftercare, and it's a huge step backwards.
Would you still be interested in going down and getting the counselling session?
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
You would?
Yeah.
The Loop says its service reduces drug consumption. When it first started at Boomtown in 2017, 44% of the people that came in said they'd discard their drugs completely or reduce their dose.
Or which substance do you expect to take first?
Ketamine.
Ketamine.
Yep.
One of the things with the combination of alcohol and ketamine that people often forget, when the two are combined together, the effects magnify a lot.
Definitely.
So people often end up in welfare because they're throwing up, that they're sort of unconscious, and it does result in a disproportionately high number of fatalities. So it's definitely a combination to be particularly careful about.
So was it any use without the testing?
It was. I learned something. I learned something that I will not do.
And what's that?
Not mix alcohol with any other drugs. That I didn't know.
She's also decided that she's not going to take one of our drugs.
MDMA. I'm not going to do MDMA because I found out that it interacts with the medication I'm on, so I'm not going to take it.
Wow, that sounds like vital information.
It really is vital information. It's something that I tried to look for on the internet and I couldn't find it. And she gave me the answer, so I'm not going to do it.
While the UK grapples with the issue of drug testing, just a short flight away, on the same weekend, it's a very different story. This is the annual Zurich Street Parade. There's around 1 million people partying on the streets here. And in amongst it is a drug testing service right out in the open. This service is funded by a local government and it's been running for 18 years. It's headed up by director Christian Coble.
It's going very good. There is a lot of people attending the booth. We're non-stop doing analysis.
Party-goers walk straight up to the tent with their drugs and police agree not to arrest them.
What made you want to do this?
I just want to be safe when I take my drugs, because you never know what's inside. Maybe if the results come back and they're like very strong, I will take maybe a little less. And if it's like cut with something dangerous, then I'm just gonna not take it.
Once the drugs are handed over, the first step is documentation. Then a sample of the pill or powder is processed into liquid form and analysed to find out what's in it. The test takes around 20 minutes, and then it's time for results.
I guess that's the most important part when we hand out the results after testing. That's where we give the safer use tips, where we hand out the important information so they can reduce their risks.
And do you personalise that information for that individual?
Yeah, this information is personalised to the individual. For example, we take in consideration their body weight, medical history.
94 drug samples were tested today. A third of them revealed very high strength MDMA.
So we would tell the people, just take a third of this pill, don't take more, that's more than enough concerning your body weight. Wait at least for an hour to feel the full effect of the substance before you take anything more. Don't mix with other substances, drink some water, take some rest if you don't feel good, come back to our booth if you don't feel good.
What about people who are concerned that this kind of testing service gives a green light to drug taking?
The data analysis we have from the questionnaires, we know that people usually start at an earlier age. There is 2 or 3 years in between since their first use of those party drugs and using the drug checking services. So I think it's very clear that this cannot be the green light and forcing them or encouraging them to do drugs.
Switzerland isn't alone. 11 other European countries also allow drug testing.
So what do you think of this idea of drug checking in the middle of a festival?
Yeah, I think it's incredible. Like, everyone's on drugs regardless, so if you're checking to be sure that there's not anything crazy, like laced, anything weird, any chemicals that you don't want to be taking in your body, it's a perfect way to know what's going on.
And where are you from?
I'm from New York.
Right, okay. Do you have this in New York?
No, we don't have this.
Organisers say there's never been a drug-related death at an event where they've been testing. Back at Boomtown, and the festival is really hitting its straps.
Saturday and it's great, isn't it? Amazing! We just got done dancing and now we need to go somewhere and get rid of some energy and dance some more.
Meanwhile, the back-of-house drug testing team have found some of those nasty substances that were on the radar.
One are these Superman ecstasy tablets. We think that they may contain a drug called PMMA instead of MDMA. Similar to MDMA, except considerably more toxic. And it has been associated with deaths in a number of countries across the world. The other substance is N-ethylpentylone, which happily we hadn't seen any of until yesterday.
Hey, Paul. Oh, Trev, you all right, mate?
Yeah, good.
Trevor's called Boomtown's crime and drugs manager Paul Bunt, who decides to put out some alerts.
It's not a lot, but then you don't need a lot.
Don't need a lot of it, do we?
Yeah.
Our experience over the last 2 years tells us that, so...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Over at the Loop, the team designs and words the alerts.
Maybe in bold.
Yes, I'll swap that round, you're right, yeah. That's
because
perfectly
the fact
true,
that
yeah.
was who
Yeah.
detected,
Yeah,
perhaps
exactly.
is not the priority,
Yeah.
is what is the message
Yeah,
behind.
of course.
Okay, so once you get your message right, the Boomtown organisers will disseminate it through their socials and the festival app.
Yeah. We even get visitors or people who've used the service or people who know of us retweeting it and sharing it. You get a lot of people tagging their mates about posts and sharing that on, and that's actually a massive help.
So that alert from the Loop has now gone out on Boomtown Fair's social media channels. The question is anyone out here going to see it? Are you checking Instagram while you're at the festival?
No.
I got no phone battery.
Very weak access to the internet.
Is this a handy message? Do you think people are actually going to see it?
That would be a handy message, yeah. Especially it might waken the little ones up a little bit, you know? Like the teenagers running around thinking they can just take what they want. They think they're invincible, don't they, after they've been drinking.
The staff at the welfare tents have got the message.
We're just retweeting that on social media at the moment, so if we could just like brief the staff. So yeah, we'll just do it maybe handover.
Katie McLeod from Chill Welfare says they're looking out for the anethylpentalone symptoms.
Based on last year's findings, we saw acute mental health reactions where people hadn't slept for more than 24 hours and would have really quite vivid hallucinations. Do you want a wee drink of water before you go or anything? A cup of tea or anything? Yeah?
Lollipop. Back at the Loop, and the team have had some useful feedback about the message getting through.
Within an hour of putting out our alert about the yellow Superman pills, people were coming into the Loop service and they were disposing of those pills with us. Those pills that were handed in, that's the difference between people having a good time at the festival or having an absolutely terrible time in the medics.
So Anna, here we are. It's the last night of the festival, pretty much home. How's it gone?
It's been amazing, actually. The conversation has been so out there in terms of the Loop. I mean, obviously, because of the fact that we haven't been able to have the front of house drug testing, but I don't think that's really affected too much everybody's understanding of just how important it is to be educated and aware of what you're taking.
Despite the absence of front-of-house drug testing, there's not much to report from the medical tent.
Everybody has been treated on scene here by the medical team.
Have you had to use your life support on any drug-related cases?
No.
Wow.
We've had a couple of patients that have been monitored in our critical care bays, but actually, yeah, none of the advanced life support equipment has been out of its drawer, I'm very pleased to say.
After days of partying, we're checking in with Rose and Marcus.
It's been the best 5 days of my life.
Really?
Yeah, of this year, because Boomtown last year, that was, yeah.
And this year, loads of our friends came, so it made it even better.
You came in with 4 grams of ketamine. How much of that have you used?
All of it.
All of it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, all of it.
I had to take his as well, yeah.
I gave her mine.
You've had 4 grams of ketamine in the last 4 days.
Yeah.
How's that made you feel?
Great, I feel fine. I've woken up in the morning and I've been fine, and we've eaten, we've drunk water, and then we've got on it, and that's it.
Do you worry about the damage that could do to your body in the longer term?
Because I'm not going to do it for the rest of the year.
Fortunately, everyone here at Boomtown will make it home alive, but people continue to die from drugs. Over this summer in the UK, there have been at least 5 suspected drug-related deaths at clubs and festivals.
There's so obviously a need for education and a non-judgmental education I don't believe that people really want to die. They're not going out to... My sister certainly wasn't, absolutely not. She was celebrating life, that was part of it, and her curiosity, but people don't want to risk their lives. They want the advice. They want to know how to take care of themselves.
While the drug debate rages, festival culture thrives, and young people continue to push the limits.
I just can't get enough. Just can't get enough. I just can't.